Hey everyone, welcome back to Tea Talks. I'm Divya, and as usual, we speak to inspiring individuals who have inspiring stories. On that note, today we are speaking to a huge fan of football. Me being a football fan, I've always wanted to have a chat with someone like him, and he is also the host of Berbulu with a Burn on Astro Arena, and is none other than Ruben. You can call him Burn for short. Without further ado, let's welcome Ruben.
Hello, hi Tivia. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited. I've
Thank you
watched
for
you.
joining. How are you?
I'm good. Just busy trying to navigate a 2.5-year-old at the same time. Watch as much football as I can because that's sort of like my passion and also what I do for a
Right.
living. Kan? Yeah.
Right. But it's a very interesting passion though, and I'm very jealous that you're doing it for a living.
Maybe we can have you on the show one of these days, and get your
Yeah, I'd
opinions
love
after
to.
such a big win last night. I'm sure you're super
Right.
exhausted.
Let's talk a
Um,
lot more about it, right? Because your
yeah,
team
sure.
also played yesterday and my team also played
Yeah.
yesterday. Right. So before we get it going, like I mentioned, he is the host of the Berbulu with Burn on Astro Arena. And I love to talk about football to anyone, football fan. So I was very, very excited when I realized that, okay, I can have Ruben on the show. So it has always been about a bit more about inspiring individuals and all, and finally I'm a bit more excited to talk about football, so I decided to venture into this. So to begin with, right, I this one question I wanted to ask is that he's a huge fan of Newcastle United, and I want to know why before we actually get into the topic of today. Why Newcastle though?
It's funny because this question has always been asked by so many people who invite me on shows, and they wonder, right? Like, out of there's
Yeah.
so many teams, there's the big six, there's so many teams that did well historically, and they're still on top. And why not one of those teams, right? But the reason is actually simple. Like, what really got me into football was this one player. Before that, like before I was 13, 12 years old, I was never really into football yet.
Okay.
I got to football pretty late. Like I started getting interested in football teams and the Premier League specifically in the year 1995. And at that point, there was this one player that really got me excited because he used to score a lot of goals. And as a kid, you used to think like, oh, I want to see goals. That's what excites you about football, right? The first thing that excites you about wanting to even like football is watching a player score lots
Yeah,
of goals. So
correct.
that player was Alan Shearer. So at that
Right,
point of time, he
okay.
was playing for this club called Blackburn Rovers. And in that time, I didn't know anything about Premier League. I didn't know anything about teams, about clubs. So I used to like him a lot. Then eventually he made this move, this 15 million pound move, which was the most any club in the whole world spent for a player, which was 15 million pounds. That was the highest. Can you imagine? Like now you look like, the last we heard when Neymar was like 220 million, that's
Yeah,
the most till today.
yeah.
But back then, 15 million in 1995, 96, if I'm not mistaken,
It was
15
huge.
million pounds. It was huge. It was huge. It was the biggest transfer fee ever paid by any club. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
he went to his hometown club called Newcastle United. And then it triggered me to understand that a little bit more. Like, why did he go back there? Like, he had offers from Manchester United. He had big offers from big clubs, right? But he chose to go back to Newcastle. And that made me very curious. So, being a fan of Alan Shearer myself, I started following his projection. Like, he was in Newcastle for so many years. He retired there. And then I started to get to know the club a little bit better. I got excited about Newcastle because, the fan base is just crazy. They're almost like Liverpool fans. I mean, I
Correct.
would
Yeah.
say, if not the same amount of passion, they pack out 52,000 people. And the only difference is they do it even with their team playing average football, not being even one of the top six, top eight, whatever, right? But of course, at that time, in the early 90s, in the mid 90s towards the early 2000s, Newcastle was one of the biggest teams. We qualified for Champions League consistently. So it's not like I supported a team who was rubbish, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
supported a team who was doing well from 1996 all the way till about 2002, 2003, before that whole drop off. The new owner came in, and Newcastle for the last 14, 15 years were average or below average, right? So I started that way. So it was more loyalty eventually, and also the fact that because I went there a couple of times when they were doing well, made me have this affection towards the community of fans there. Plus, also the fact that The support is second to none. It's almost like a religion there. You go there because I've been there 3 times, right? And you go there, you feel it for yourself. When you talk to even people who work in shops nearby, right? I ask them, so how do I get to the stadium? And you know what they tell me? They tell me this. Hey sir, it's very easy. You just follow the black and white. So it's almost like a religion, and the whole black and white theme has been there forever. And that's what made me sort of like gravitate towards Newcastle United as a team. And after that, it was pretty easy. Like, it was an easy decision to be loyal because we grew up supporting teams and being loyal to the team through thick and thin, right? Whether they lose, whether they win, it doesn't really matter. So it was one of those situations. So that's how I got stuck to Newcastle, and the rest is history, lah, babe. It started with
now they're top 10.
I mean, yeah, for now, let's not jinx it, lah. I know it's only been 10 game weeks. We've only lost one, so it's exciting, lah. It's exciting.
I mean, it's something. Yeah, it is really something, though.
I'm just trying to keep my expectations low. You know what I mean?
Right. As much as Liverpool won City last night, but they're still below Newcastle, so that's the gamble they have to play.
It won't last long, don't worry. I mean, you guys already have such a good squad. You got good squad depth. I'm not even dreaming of trying to finish above Liverpool. I'm realistic. I'm optimistic, but I'm realistic. So I know
it's PL, it takes its own time.
Exactly. I mean, Liverpool had a bad start, but make no mistake, they're going to be back up.
Hopefully, lah. I think ever since we lost money, we were trying to bring the spirit, bring the passion, bring the team back up again. So that is taking some time, I'm sure.
That's true. I don't just think it's about money alone. I think it's also, money is a huge loss. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, true.
It's just that I feel that there's a lot of factors that go into it, right? The way Klopp wants to play, the way other teams have also improved, So
the way that's also the way that the new players are trying to gel into the squad.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. You're spot on. You're exactly right. And it's not that easy. Because Darwin Núñez is not a money kind of player. He's like a typical centre forward who thrives on service, right?
Yeah.
And it's also a system thing, right? Like Klopp's so used to the 4-3-3 and the front three who always practice from the front.
He sticks to that, like just like that, It doesn't change.
And having a new player walk in, and he's very inexperienced. He's raw. He's a good talent, but he's very raw. He needs time. It's not like Haaland, who's already been banging goals in Bundesliga and whatnot. He comes very, very raw. He was more newly discovered compared to Haaland and whatnot. So it will take time, but I feel like somehow or other Klopp has the answer. He somehow or other, he will struggle. Even remember 2020/21 season, you guys had a bad run of losing 6 home games in Anfield, remember?
Yeah, I remember.
And you bounced back.
Yep. I remember, I cannot forget the days where Liverpool were losing, terribly.
Correct. And imagine if you can come back from that, what is this? I mean, you're about 14 points behind Arsenal right now, but you guys did it I think it was something like last season you were 17 points behind City and you managed to claw it back, and eventually you only lost by 1 point, right? So I mean, form is temporary. I feel class is permanent. So that's what Liverpool are at the end of the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, you got class players, right? Like, Mo Salah didn't overnight become a bad player, right? Obviously, he's still a good player. It's just that, he had bad form. But you look at last night, what happened, it just shows you how one game can change people's opinions.
Lot of things. Lot of things. Every single second, during that game, if you saw yesterday's game, it was a lot about. It's like there's not even 1 second they were there was something else going on. No, they were always attacking, focusing on attacking, defending. Something was going on.
And you think about it, right? You had so many chances to score. If Darwin Núñez made that pass to Mo Salah, you would have scored at least 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah.
Salah had a one-on-one with Addison.
Right. Jota also missed one.
Crazy. So when you think about it, right? I mean, one thing that improved yesterday was the defending, even though you had Milner and Gomez playing and all that.
I think Gomez really stepped up.
Exactly. Despite what happened in Napoli, the Napoli game really exposed him, right? But you can see, like, these players are good players for a reason. Gomez played for England, and he was called up to the England squad, so he must be decent, right? They're not, like I said, they're not bad overnight. Even Trent, people talk so much about his defending being awful and whatnot. And maybe
he's an amazing footballer.
he's an amazing footballer, super talented. He may be a bit weak at defending, but what he offers on the other side of the pitch is so much more valuable that it just camouflages all the weaknesses that he has. But I don't think he's that bad at defending, because I've seen games where he plays well defensively. So it's funny how 4 years or 4 or 5 years of such great performances from Trent, and in a
But it ended in a
second,
one night,
exactly,
Yeah,
one
so
split
true.
second, one bad performance, or maybe a few bad performances can change people's minds, overnight. So
Correct.
I just feel it's like a blip on the radar for Liverpool. I mean, somehow or other you all will find it. It's just that I still think you guys need squad depth. You need players in the midfield.
Yep.
I mean, it's an
Agree.
aging midfield, to be honest. So I mean,
Agree.
you may survive this season, but if moving forward, to evolve, you need more
Kind of
lah.
need to step up a bit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you
Right.
need. Yeah,
Okay. So if we were to talk about football, Liverpool and all, will be going on and on. We cannot
true. That's
stop
true.
each other. So I think before we, speak a little bit more about the football season that's going on, I
Yeah,
want to hear a bit about how you got into the industry. Media is one, yes, being a host is
yeah.
one, but being a football fan and becoming a host after that, for that, it's a huge thing. It's an inspiration for me, to be very honest. Being a football fan, I've always fantasized doing
Can you
uh
imagine? Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
So
Right.
that has been my inspiration. So I wanted to ask, because you're also a radio DJ, you're also
Yeah.
a singer, I hear. So share
Yep.
with us very shortly, a quick intro about how you got into doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so I started. I don't know whether you remember, because I'm not so sure how old are you, but when I first burst into the scene, in the entertainment scene in Malaysia, I was in this local reality show called Academy Fantasia,
Yeah, I'm
season one,
aware.
with Vince and all that. So that
Uh-huh.
that was how I got myself into the scene, into the industry. But of course, my dreams, my passion go way past just singing, right? Of course, singing is a huge passion of mine, because I grew up singing in the church choir. I was always a church choir boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned
Academy
vocals.
Fantasia was more for singing, right?
Correct.
Right.
Singing,
Okay.
acting, the whole works lah. But I think it was more
Mm-hmm.
driven towards singing lah, because
Talent
most, I
lah,
mean,
mainly.
correct, yeah, because even the
Mm-hmm.
champion Vince back then, good friend of mine who also ended up
Mm-hmm.
becoming, even myself, despite the fact I didn't win, I did come up with an album, like a music, like my own album.
Mm-hmm.
So I set out to achieve certain things in my career, right? Like, so for one, I wanted to be a singer. I achieved that, right? I mean, I didn't win awards and anything, but I made a few milestones along the way, and I was very, very satisfied. Then, already being in the industry, it created that platform for me to actually become a radio DJ, which is something that I've always been passionate about too. So, um, having the gift of the gap of speaking in Malay, like the
Mm-hmm.
Malays, gave
Mm-hmm.
me that platform where they found it very unique that this Indian guy who speaks fluent Malay can actually become a radio announcer for ERA. So at that
Mm-hmm.
time, I joined X Fresh Radio first. So that was like the stepping stone for me to join ERA eventually. So it was within the same network, which is AMP or Astro Radio back then. So I was 3 years in X Fresh in between 2004 to 2007, after I came out of Academy Fantasia in 2003. So then 2007 to 2010, I was in Radio Era. So that was like the first 6-7 years of my career doing radio, music, singing, my album. Then, obviously, there's another passion of mine within, which is always to do commentary in sports, right? Because I've always been a passionate football fan,
Right.
sports fan. I love all kinds of sports. I like badminton. I mean, it's not just football. But I used the fact that there was an up and coming TV station called Astro Arena looking for talents. So
Huh.
they asked if anyone within the Astro platform already was interested and is a huge avid sports fan. So they asked me if I would wanted to audition, things like that. So I went for it.
This is for commentary lah.
Not just commentary. I mean, it was for
Like
hosting, commentary,
hosting,
the whole
right?
works lah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's more like if you join Astro Arena, you have to multitask. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just hosting, it's not just
Okay.
commentary, it's like everything. So to me, it just fit the bill, because I talk, I speak Malay, I'm a radio DJ, so it's only natural for me to be a host. It's only natural for me to do commentary, because I'm quite passionate about doing commentary. So that's exactly what I did, right? I got into Astro Arena, I got the job. So I was doing hosting for a bit before even starting to do commentary. Then I think only up till the year 2019, which was 9 years later,
Mm-hmm.
Astro Arena became Astro Arena 1 and 2. So you have
Mm.
now 801, 802,
Yeah.
two channels, right?
Yeah.
And only now we started focusing on the Premier League, shows like Berbulu dengan Burn that
Yep.
focuses on international European football. Before that, for the first 9 years, I was doing things like I used to go for the Olympics. I'll be one of the hosts. I did multi-sport events. I did local football. It was a lot of local sports. It was a lot of local talents, things like that. But it was never international football, which is what I'm passionate about. Only
Correct.
up to 3 years ago, then it started, and that's how you saw the rise of Berbulu dengan Burn. That's how it all started, lah.
Worth the wait lah.
Worth the wait. Although halfway through 9 years, I was thinking, is this ever going to happen?
Mm.
But it finally did happen, lah. So yeah, or else I would have, being the person that I am, I probably just have started a YouTube show or something like that. Which I also have started. I've got this channel called Burn TV.
Mm-hmm.
So that I started somewhere late last year, but then I've been on a hiatus for a while for the last 3 months because of how my
Yeah.
job scope now has
Correct.
increased, right? Like when you do commentary, it's not just what I do on the weekdays. It's also like on weekends, I got to do the Bundesliga. I got to
Yeah.
do basketball 3x3, anything and everything. So it's not just football per se lah.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's what you do.
Did I
And
answer your question though?
yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
Right. So that's very much your journey. Yes. I understand. But speaking about football, and like you mentioned that you are a fan of international football, and me, right? Like you mentioned that 1995, that's when you started. That's when I was born. So
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
started when I was 12. Yeah, when I was
Right.
11, 12, primary school is when I started being a huge fan of Liverpool, because my family watches Liverpool games for Deepavali gatherings, for
Wow.
all
So
sort of
nice.
gatherings. So they watch games during the gatherings, and we had no choice. We'll just sit together and watch with the cousins and all. That's when I started slowly falling in love with Liverpool, and that's when Fernando Torres came in to Liverpool,
Right.
and I was a huge fan of Torres back then. I am still, but I was not a fan when he went to Chelsea lah. I didn't really
I was
like
gonna
that
ask you that,
decision.
but you already
Yeah,
mentioned it.
I didn't really like that decision, but we can't do much about it. Things happen. So,
Yeah, that's
but
football.
that's
There's no such thing as loyalty in football, right?
no loyalty. No, I'm
Yeah, I mean,
very
there's no
loyal
such thing as
to.
loyalty. What players go where
Oh yeah,
they want to go. Yeah, it's their careers at the end of the day, kan? So, but I think it was a bad move, lah, because
Yeah, I
it
also
was
thought
quite
it
a
was a bad
sideways
move.
move. Yeah,
Correct.
I mean, he didn't do well in
And
Chelsea yet
yeah,
either, kan?
he didn't shine much.
He was
And
part of that the curse of the number 9 in Chelsea. Because if you know, Chelsea has this curse where anyone who wears the number 9 jersey in Chelsea always flops. Andriy
who is playing
Shevchenko.
number 9 right now?
Now it's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
So is he still in the curse?
He's
he's
not beaten
okay.
the curse, but he's scored 3 goals so far in 4 games.
Okay.
So we'll wait and see lah. I mean, the jury is still out lah. There's no guarantee that he will do well, right? But there's always a curse when it comes to Chelsea's number 9, and it's like a long-standing thing over the years. Andriy Shevchenko, Mattia Kajman, so many players. Alvaro Morata, so many.
Oh, Morata. I'm a huge fan of Spain.
Ah,
You know why
good player.
I like Spain now?
Why?
Because of Fernando Torres.
Oh, okay, makes sense lah. Makes
And
sense.
I've been loyal ever since. So even if they play like, whatever game, you play a game that I don't really fancy, but I'll still like, okay, Spain for life.
So we're not too much different, like you and I. Basically, you and I both started liking football because of certain players, lah. Like me, Alan
Yes.
Shearer, you, Fernando Torres, and that's how you got hooked on Liverpool, is it?
Liverpool, yes. But I'm also a huge fan of SG Steven Gerrard, and yeah, it's a legend. We can't define about that.
Fantastic.
And
Yeah, Istanbul, 2005 or 2006, right?
oh, that was
That
a
was a game to remember for the
dream
rest of your
come true
life.
game lah, yeah lah. So that was a very nice game. I still, some days I still Google that game highlight and I watch.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I were
Yeah.
you, I'd do the same thing. Like, but sadly, as a Castle fan, we don't have moments like that.
Right. Tell me about yesterday's game against Manchester United though? Like what you
Yesterday's
said.
game. I felt a draw was a very fair result when you look at the balance of the game, right? Like you, when you look at football, you always got to look at it as a 90-minute spectacle, right? So what happened was the whole first half. When you look at the first half, Man United barely had any threat on the Newcastle goal. I think Nick Pope had only one save to make from Anthony, and that was it. Whereas Newcastle had hit the post twice. One, I think Joelinton hit the
Yeah, I
bar
saw
once.
that. I saw that.
On the follow through, he hit the post. I don't know how unlucky can anyone be, because the
That
thing is, a lot of people,
attempt.
a lot of
I
fans don't know
saw.
this, right? Because when you follow Newcastle only, you will know, like, in the last 3 games, Joelinton has hit the bar and the post like 4-5 times already. So he's slowly getting that name where, you know, he's known as Mr. Post or Mr. Bar or whatever,
Yeah.
because he can't seem to score, but he keeps hitting the post and the bar. But that was one. And then there were incidents, a lot of like questionable decisions. I think Dan Burn had his shirt pulled by Varane in the penalty
Yep.
area. Not forgetting the Callum Wilson was through one-on-one with De Gea, and he was brought down, and it was very clear when VAR showed the replay, but somehow or other the VAR officials didn't alert the referee to give a penalty. So when we look at the balance of the first half, yeah, Newcastle dominated. I mean, didn't dominate it, but we had the better chances, and we were disappointed not to go up at least by 1 goal in that first half, right? Then you fast forward to the second half, I think the game plan changed. Like Eddie Howe's team is a strong, high-intensity pressing team that we press from the front. And there's a stat, I think, that came out in the Athletic app that recently showed that Newcastle are the number 1 team now when it comes to pressing and winning balls in the final third. And we did that against Man United, except the second half was a bit different. It was almost like they wanted to just play for the draw eventually, because the first 20 minutes, I think we still played like how we played in the first half. But then the last 20 minutes, you could see already Man United were controlling the possession. And then we played pretty low. We played almost like a low block. And then we invited them to come and attack, right? And that's where you had things like the Sancho incident where it could have been a penalty. I mean, as a Newcastle fan, I hate to admit this, but it's true. I mean,
could have been a penalty.
Whether there was a touch or not, it was in the box, and it I think Sean Longstaff didn't get the ball at all. So it could have been a penalty, but I think because they didn't give the first one in the first half for Newcastle, it was almost like they can't give this, right? Because of the mistake they've already done in that sense, you know what I mean? And then to me, you know, the incidents where Ronaldo stole the ball of Nick Pope and scored a goal, and they're so desperate that they want to actually claim a goal like that. Like, I can't get it. Like, you're world-class players in one of the most epic teams in the world, Man United, and 11 players going to the ref complaining about a goal that they shouldn't even deserve in the first place, where they took the ball off Nick Pope, claiming that the free kick had already been taken. That was so ridiculous, because Nick Pope standing there, he's looking at this guy coming and trying to take the ball off me, like, I haven't even taken a free kick, right? And the ref has already blown the whistle, actually. So when the rules stand as, if the ref blows the whistle, that ball's not active. It's as simple as that. How can you claim that, because the player had already passed to the goalkeeper? You know, at the end of the day, you play to the whistle, right? That's how you play football.
Yeah.
So a few incidents that happened in the second half that salty Man United fans, as usual, nothing new. I'm sure you know about this, being a Liverpool fan.
Better than anyone.
Exactly, right? And then they claim like, Ronaldo should have been a penalty as well. I mean, you look at those incidents, it's so soft. Like, how can you claim that was a clear penalty? But they did miss their chances. They had chances through Rashford. The Fred chance, I feel the one where Rashford was through on goal, he beat Nick Pope, I think. That one was already offside. It's just that they didn't call offside because they missed the chance anyway. So they had chances. I think they didn't create much. Like, you're playing at Old Trafford, you expect more, right? Like, if we were in St. James Park and they played like that, I'll be disappointed with my team. But because we're playing away, and that is definitely a really good point for us, because we're still not a top 16. We're still like, our targets are different. Our targets are top 8, top 10, that kind of thing. For them, being like a team still vying for Champions League, things like that, it's a very disappointing result, because on the balance of it, they didn't create enough to win the game. And I feel like it was so balanced. It was really, really a fair result. But saying that as a Newcastle fan, I can accept it, because for me, our targets are different to what Man United targets are. They are probably thinking, higher spots and things like that. Like, for us, it's
Champion
like top 10 we're still trying to build. I mean, we were richest club in the world, whatever, but we still we don't have that revenue in yet for us to spend like crazy, right? Because, talking about net spend is another thing that Liverpool fans will understand as well. So all this take time. So this season, realistically, the targets that our owners have put has only been like something like top 8, top 10, like that. So getting a draw at Old Trafford is a big deal. So I'm happy, but I'm sure Man United fans should not be happy with the result, lah.
No, I actually watched the game together with uh, some of my Manchester United fans,
Ah,
and we also watched Liverpool game after that. So they
yeah.
were not happy because Liverpool won. They were saying that if MU, they thought, they were before Liverpool's game, they were like, MU draw already, so maybe you guys also draw lah. Then we
Yeah,
equal, rivalry equal. Nobody will talk so much the following morning. But
exactly.
they were not happy when Liverpool won, and I don't really enjoy watching football with my Manchester United fans, but they're friends already, right? I cannot
No
do much,
choice.
no choice. So I'll just watch lah, but they'll also minimize their counters a bit. But
Understand.
my friend next to me was clear cut going for City. It's like City must score, City must do this, City must do that. I was just silently watching the game. I was like, it's just a game, it's just a
Yeah, because
game.
I mean, to be fair, when I watched that game, right, City had a lot of chances and they
Yeah.
dominated possession and all that, right? But that's something that we already knew. Like, everyone knows when you play City, you're going to lose possession. But what you do when you have the ball, what you do when you're off the ball, and that's something that Liverpool's very good at, right? The way you guys press, the mentality
Mm-hmm.
monsters, how Klopp sets them up. And I was very impressed by what you guys did yesterday. I mean, for me, maybe at one point I was thinking, yeah, it's going to be difficult for Liverpool this season
I
because
also
I
thought
thought that
it's going to be difficult because when I even posted an Insta story for with the Tamil God song,
okay.
that hashtag God help. Because everyone after that, everyone on my DM they went like, God can't help you all. God can't help you all. Today, something is gonna happen today. So, but what Klopp brought to the table was something very impressive.
Yeah,
He
because when you look at
really
City,
worked
they
on the
are
defense and all.
yeah, and look at City. Like last season, they were good. This season, they are better because they have Haaland some more, right? But
Yeah.
somehow or other, you guys managed to rattle him because he didn't play the way he usually plays. Like he had chances, but he missed. Like it's
Yeah.
that to me says something about the Liverpool defense because for Haaland to miss, that means someone was putting him off, like maybe a
Yeah.
Van Dijk or maybe like even
Probably
a
Van Dijk,
Milner.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think you guys showed yesterday that you're the only team that basically you're the only team who stopped
Yeah.
Haaland.
Yeah.
When you look at Haaland's stats this season, right? In 10 games, he has in 9 games, I think he's only blanked, which means he didn't score or assist in
With two
one game.
Liverpool games, right?
The Bournemouth game, he only assisted, he didn't score, right? But
Yeah.
every other game he scored. He scored
Correct,
more
correct.
than one goal or whatever. But against Liverpool, he didn't score, he didn't assist, nothing. Like
Yeah.
so that says something about you guys, like what about how you guys played on the night. And I think y'all deserve your 3 points. Like you had chances. It's not to say like y'all didn't have any chances. Yeah, City will groan about the fact that Phil Foden's goal got disallowed, whatever. But
Yeah.
I feel it was valid lah, because when you
They
go to
told
VAR,
me,
obviously when Haaland's pulling the fella shirt, Fabinho's shirt, it was quite obvious, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
So
That was a
I
very
knew already that
tricky
goal was going to
pull.
be disallowed. Yeah. I mean, but it
But
was a good goal though. It's just that sad lah, because who asked
yeah,
you to go and pull the flash shirt, right? Because you
yeah.
won the ball, and that led to the goal. What? So it had to be
Proper
cancelled
lah.
out. So
Mm-hmm.
correct,
Right.
yeah, and the fact that City
I
couldn't respond,
couldn't
they couldn't respond after you scored. Like
respond, correct.
they were talking about how City, this is the new City where they can always go behind by 1 goal and then they can somehow rather find 2 goals and win and all that. This will test the character, blah 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 blah. But with 15 minutes to go, they barely look like threatening the Liverpool goal.
True.
In the last
I
15, I
think
didn't
towards
see
the
really.
end we kind of gave up
I mean,
already.
yeah, they had the ball and everything, but they weren't
Not
really creating so many chances towards the end after they were 1-0 down. I think the better chances came before that, right? Before you guys
yep,
scored.
correct.
So yeah, quite disappointing in the end.
Right.
Just
I
shows
think
that actually, this will give other teams hope. Actually,
yeah, true. I
yeah.
think many of them commented that, yeah, lah, it's a win with a red card and a disallowed goal,
I
But
honestly tell you, babe, I wanted Liverpool to win last night because I hate it when people say the Premier League is becoming a farmers' league lah. It's not competitive enough. So I wanted Liverpool to make a statement yesterday that this is not a farmers' league. Liverpool are here to compete, and even though y'all win or don't win the title, it just shows that anyone can beat City, right? It's not like City's winning every game. Like they finally got their first defeat of the season, so it shows
Yeah.
that it gives faith, gives hope to other teams that this can be done. You know.
Yep. Liverpool was all out yesterday. Do or
Yeah,
die.
you can see when
Yeah.
Robbo at the first few minutes, I was looking at Robertson's face, right? I was like, "Ooh, this guy means business way today." Like the way he was overlapping on the left, I think he had a chance to score, so there was like an
Yeah.
open
In the
goal, then he
beginning,
missed
correct.
it. He
Yes.
also had a chance. We didn't even mention him. You mentioning like Jota's chance and all that, but we didn't mention Robbo having
He
chances
also had a
early in the
chance,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you came out more determined in the first 5-10 minutes itself. It showed me that
Mm-hmm.
okay, Liverpool mean business today.
All right. So I think with that, I just wanted to I ask one last question though, because
Yeah,
as
sure, sure.
much as we speak about football, we are a huge fan of football, and we might be going a live on Instagram, so we can have a bit more chat about Premier
Sure.
League, Champions League, and all during that time. So to have a bit of audience, get them to ask the questions and all, we'll do that after the episode is released.
Sure.
But to end, right, like I wanted to put in that as a football fan, I've always looked at football more than just football, though. It's every day there's something to learn. Every day there's
Yeah.
something that you can learn from each player, how they are growing. Looking at
Mm-hmm.
Messi, looking at Ronaldo, they are the legends, and how they are right now, and the things they would have. When I look at Messi's Ballon d'Or record, I'm like, how, man, how could this guy win this much? So
Yeah.
it's just very fascinating for me how football changes people.
Mm.
Many people's dream come true with football. So maybe could share some of the lessons, life lessons that you have learned by watching football or being a huge fan of football. Not
Yeah,
really
I
like
think the
a fan of club or anything, but general fan of football.
yeah, I think what it teaches us is although players may not be loyal to clubs because it's their career, right? It's just like you and me. We have a job to do. We always look for the next bigger thing, the next best thing, right? Like when it comes to either financially driven to move to another job, or whether it's career driven, things that you want to achieve in life, things like that. So when you look at players, somehow rather me like when I look at that, it makes me feel sometimes like maybe I'm in my comfort zone. Like even players who are in their comfort zone at certain clubs, they want to move, things like that,
Yeah.
right? And then it also teaches you loyalty. Like when it comes to supporting a football club, not players per se, but as a
Yep.
supporter, through thick and thin, times are bad. That's what you go through in life as well, right? There's good things that happen in your life. There are also bad things that happen in your life. You're gonna have good moments. You're gonna have problems, and that happens to everyone, right? No matter how well you may be doing, no matter how rich you are, no matter how poor you are, So these are all life lessons that you take with
Yeah.
you, and how you react in those situations. Your life experiences dictate how you behave, right? Like what you say, what you do, like how I raise my son, for example, or how I am towards my wife, things like that. So I feel all this when you watch football per se, and the experience, because watching football and being crazy about football and making it a passion of yours is something that's part of your life, right? And how you react to your friends. Like for example, like if your team wins and you've been trashing your friend's team for the last three
Yeah.
seasons
How
in
do
a
you
row, how
react to it?
gracious you are as a supporter, whether you make
Correct.
make life difficult for your friend, or whether you want to be a gracious winner. There's so
Correct.
many factors that play into daily life, what being a football fan,
To
and
see
and it
how we
dictates
are
your
actually handling it ourselves, we are
correct.
handling our
It
emotions and
dictates
all.
you as a person, as a character. It dictates
Yeah.
how you are as a person, right? So that's the thing. When it's football's every week, you watch, it's constant, right? If there's no Premier League, there's a World Cup, or there's something, right, that you support or you're into, right? But how you behave in good moments, in bad moments, dictate how you also treat people in daily life, right? So I feel it's life lessons that happen over a prolonged period of time that you learn. Like I said, loyalty, being gracious,
Mm-hmm.
so many things that sports teaches us, that also
Yep.
when you look at players, how they strive to be better, the
Correct.
discipline that you see, like you mentioned Messi just now.
Yeah.
Let's also add Ronaldo to that conversation.
Yep.
How do they achieve the crazy feats that they've
Yep.
achieved?
Yep.
Like there was one stat that showed like Messi and Ronaldo are the only two players of all time, that means include since football was created with Pele and whoever, whatnot, who have scored 1 goal per every 104 minutes. That is a crazy stat. That says
Crazy.
that in any game they can score 1 goal. That's what it's saying over the career span of Messi and Ronaldo. So how did they become like that? So that's when you start delving into deeper research about these guys and how their discipline, how their diet is. Like when you look at Ronaldo, what he eats and the diets that he's on, despite being 38,
They have
he's so rich.
families
Like
too, no?
he's married. I think he's married. He's got kids. Like he could easily just hang his boots. I'm rich enough. I'm a billionaire.
But he's still
All I
on
need
the
to do is now
pitch.
spend time with my kids and have fun and enjoy my life. But he's still so driven to achieve certain goals, right? So that what does that tell you as like people like us, right? Where when sometimes we're in our comfort zone, or sometimes we are just happy with what we're doing. It tells you that, what? Why can't I be like that? Or or maybe, I always wanting to strive for the next best thing. It can be a small thing, can be a big thing, doesn't matter, but it just teaches, especially kids, right? Like if you want to be the best, you got to work the hardest of the hardest, right? Like it's not just working hard is not enough. Working smart is a whole nother thing, but you got to work harder than the person who works the hardest. Literally that's what it is, right?
Right.
So talent doesn't just get you everywhere. You got to put in the hard work that also comes
That
with the
has
talent.
been what Ruben learned, the life lesson Ruben learned from football, and I would say that it's also same for me. And I'm still learning a lot on a daily basis. Being the rivalry of Manchester United, you can learn a lot of stuff about yourself. Trust me, speaking from experience. So with that, we'll chat a bit more during our live section on Instagram. So once the episode is out, and I think we can speak a lot more about Champions League, Premier League, and all. And I also want to speak a little bit about Arsenal, but I think we didn't have enough time, so we can speak during the live session last. So thank you so much, Ruben. I had a lot of fun finally being able to speak to someone, a football fan, on screen. I had a lot of fun. We should do this more often, right?
Sorry if I spoke too much about Newcastle or about Liverpool and other
No,
teams that
that's
we
the
didn't
goal
have
for
Arsenal.
today. I wanted it to be about, the previous game, this week's game, right? About Newcastle and Liverpool. I think it was okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
You were very supportive when I first asked and invited you on board. So thank you so much. Very
Always, anytime, babe.
appreciate it so much. And I think with that, I'll put Ruben's contact details in the description, and also remember to catch is Berbulu with Burn on Astro Arena, to listen to, spicy gossips about different football team. And I think I enjoyed you speaking of listening to you speak about Newcastle and also Liverpool, the game. I think that's what you do in your show. So I enjoyed listening to it live.
Actually, no, because usually I ask questions, right, and people answer, but I try to give my opinion once in a while.
Yeah,
but it's not the
I
same
see.
like being a guest on the show, right?
Yeah. You speak a bit more, you contribute a bit more. So that was nice listening to you. Thank you so much, Ruben.
Thank
and
you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Divya. Appreciate your time as well.
Yeah, anything else you'd like to add on?
No. Except the fact that keep watching, enjoying football. Is going to be a crazy year. We're going to have World Cup in between a league season. This is like unprecedented.
Yes.
We had the Queen passing away. There's so many things that happened, right? Games postponed.
Like a league for the World Cup. That's insane,
right? Like what world are we living in today? Like that's just crazy. But it's going to be exciting. There's just so much of football entertainment to follow in the next couple of in the next year lah, at least.
And when there's no football in a week or something, when they had break, I'll be like, nothing to watch, football.
That's quite rare lah for girls, because usually most girls be like, hey, I got a lot of things to do, but for you, because you're such a football fan, right? So I can imagine we have the same sort of passion towards football.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, we'll end here for now, and I will see you guys in the Instagram live very soon once the episode is out. And this is Tea Talks, and you're watching here with Divya and Ruben. Thank you so much. Signing off. Bye-bye.